Hello everyone and welcome to this little video presentation to walk us into the new year. It's psychic medium and author Josh Simons coming to everyone today with a little New Year's forecast for 2022. So thank you for joining me, and I won't take up too much of your time. So let's dive into it. Last year I did a little forecast, and I will include the link to that video in the comments here so everybody can see how we walked into last year in regards to that forecast. This year's forecast is just going to be 3 tarot cards, and I know some folks who follow along with me know tarot, some people don't, and I'll just pull 3 tarot cards and explain the meanings of those cards and how I see them. It won't be a past, present, future thing. It'll just be an asking of 3 cards to show us the main principles and stuff that we have to keep in mind as we move into the new year. So that's what we're going to do. But before I shuffle the cards and pull any of the messages, I do want to talk about something that is important to me in regards to walking into the new year. So this year I have a lot of accomplishments and achievements to be proud of. I've lost over 90 pounds. My son graduated high school. I've done a lot. I wrote a poem and took a photo every day and shared it in social media as a commitment to my spirits and my community to try to bring beauty and love and a little bit of light and wonder into the world. One of the things that I would encourage folks to do over this upcoming year is to try to find a way to engage your spirit and engage your body. Okay? I'll share something with everybody here that I don't really tell a lot of folks. Every morning I've taken, over the past few months now, every morning I've taken to planking. And if you're not familiar with what planking is, it's basically holding your body in like a elbow position, almost like you're just lying flat on the floor, so you're on your elbows and you're up on your toes. And what I do during that planking every morning is pray. I pray to my spirits. I pray to the spirits that have shown themselves to me. I pray to my ancestors, and I ask for well-being and health and balance and love and all the good stuff for folks in my life and in my community. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that, but I would encourage everybody to try to find a little way to engage their spirit and engage their body, because we are those spiritual beings in a physical human body, and physical body having a spiritual experience as well. So to find a way to engage both of those things will keep us balanced, right? I think spirituality helps us find our way back to who we are truly, and physicality helps us find our body, find our way in our body and how we can better make it through this world. So before I pass those cards along, that feels like a very important message, and I hope not a preachy one, right? Because it doesn't necessarily have to be planking. Maybe it's just a walk around the block, or a half a mile walk up the road and a half a mile walk back. Maybe it's just saying a prayer on Saturday night or Sunday morning or something, right? Something that's a little bit more than what you might have done last year, right? A little bit more in terms of keeping your spirit and your body fit than you did last year, especially if you don't feel balanced or fulfilled on either of those levels. If you don't feel fulfilled spiritually, if you don't feel fulfilled physically, then you should do some things that you've never done before, right? So let's get into it. 3 tarot cards for the new year. So just 3 general pieces of wisdom that we can all benefit from, that we can all expect over this upcoming year. Oh, okay. Well, this is a fascinating thing for me. It's all fascinating, right? So what we have here are 3 cups cards. Now, cups in tarot are water, intuition, emotion, love, feeling, right? And they kind of go in sequence here. So we have the 7 of cups, the 8 of cups, and the Knight of cups. So the 7 of cups here in this card shows this. And this is a card that speaks of all that glitters isn't gold. And some of the things that we think are bad for us are actually good for us. And some of the things that we think are good for us are actually bad for us. And I would have you sit with that. Now, one of the things that this has done for me, this card here, the Seven of Cups, has shown me over this upcoming year, or this past year, is one of the ways that I lost the weight that I did is I found out what foods weren't good for my digestive tract, and I got rid of them. And I took a food sensitivity test. And we rely a lot on digestive health. For instance, I have a sensitivity to lectins. Now, lectins are the proteins found around seeds. So a lot of foods with seeds, squash, cucumbers, tomatoes, have lectins, and those are bad for me and bad for my digestive system. So one of the ways that I lost all the weight that I did is that I stopped eating vegetables. Now, I don't recommend that for everybody, right? I don't recommend that for everybody. But I use that as an example of how this card right here shows us that the things that we think are good for us are actually bad for us. So commonly, we live in a culture where, eat your vegetables are good for you. Eat your vegetables are good for you. Well, if I ate my vegetables, it'd actually be bad for me. So that is one of those things to consider. I always ask people to consider taking a food sensitivity test to find out what foods are bad for them and their digestive system, what causes an inflammatory reaction, and to remove them from their diet because it would be very good for them. And then the Eight of Cups. The Eight of Cups is kind of moving on, right? Moving on, lessons learned, moving on, higher ground, right? Moving on to higher ground from the lessons that we've learned. And then the Knight of Cups is the Knight of love and being patient, right? If that knight is on a horse and holding that cup, and he's got that cup full of liquid, right, that he's treasuring, he's got to go slowly on that horse. So it does talk about a sense of patience moving through. So one of those things, if we were to look at this as, my journey through health, I would have to identify the things that were actually not good for me, get rid of them, move away from them, and be patient. Be patient. That can be said for any of the things, right? It's not just food or diet or nutrition or any of those things. It could be emotional health. It could be mental clarity. It could be spiritual engagement and fulfillment. Any of the ways that we would see things, right, not being good for us or perhaps being good for us, right? For instance, that Seven of Cups card in regards to the things being good for us versus things being bad for us. There are some foods that people think would be bad for you that are actually good for you, right? Like meat. Meat is really, really good for me and my body. Some people think it's bad. It's good for me. Okay? So it gives you an opportunity to go, okay, well, maybe horror movies are good for my spirit, right? Maybe, for instance, and again, no judgment around anything in this world, what if reading a book like 50 Shades of Grey was good for you, right? In regards of escaping, checking out, engaging in that sort of book or literature. Well, it's not my thing, it's certainly a lot of people's thing. A lot of more prudish people might not think that book is good, but what if it's actually good for somebody to read and escape, right, in that way? So again, the only way you can know if things are good for you or things are bad for you is to really sit with them and dissect them, right? Turn them over in your mind and think about them and how they interact and relate in your life. I asked about 3 cards that we would need to know. All right. Seven of Cups. Again, back to this message of things being good, things being bad. If we can look at the silver lining of COVID, right? There are some silver linings to COVID. I have a friend who's now working from home. It's a permanent change for her, and she absolutely loves it. She's closer to her family. She's closer to her animals. She's closer to her pets. She's got her cat on her lap while she's working. Her production isn't affected. The company is saving money. It took COVID to get us there. And we think COVID is a bad thing. Maybe there's some good things that have come from it, right? Maybe there's some good things that have come from it. Now we take those lessons that we've learned and we move on, right? We learn from those lessons, emotional, all of those lessons, and we move on. And we do so with a sense of integrity and a sense of honor. And we do so with a sense of patience, and that we're carrying something very precious. We're carrying each other. We're carrying our hearts. We're carrying our culture, our society. We're carrying each other, right, into the future. This requires a sense of duty and responsibility and obligation. How are we responsible for each other? How are we responsible for ourselves? How are we responsible for our tribe, our family, our community? It really calls into question that, right? So please take it into consideration, right? Again, it's just a forecast, things, guiding principles to keep in mind. I love the forward momentum, 7, 8, night. I love that movement. So much love to everybody. May it be a blessed, blessed 2022 to everyone out there. I can't wait to see what this year brings, and I can't wait to share with you guys some of the plans that Isaac and I have here at Deep Earth Arts with some other special folks as well. We really want to make it a special year for everybody, us, our community, digital and physical. So thank you everyone for joining me on this trip, and may you have a blessed 2022.